Welcome everybody to PAX Online. We are here today to be talking about Moderators, the unsung hero of streaming. I'm really excited about this panel, but I want to make sure that I have our panelists introduce themselves, and then I will introduce myself, and then we will get into some of the areas of moderating, as well as some of the best practices and new tools to be able to use. So I am going to kick this over to Blue if she would like to introduce herself.
Yes, hi, I am Blue. I go by Blue Owlsmatic online, and I am a partner Twitch streamer for the last 2 years, been a moderator on Twitch for the past 6, and I community manage freelance, and I'm currently a community manager for Quantic Dream Studios.
I'm Dr. Ron Kelly. I'm a psychologist, and I'm also the co-founder of Geeks Like Us, a media company that's community-based that supports or fosters unapologetic enthusiasm in our community and also teaches people how to turn their passion into a career. We have been doing Twitch as our main platform for a while, and so we've set this up over the last 2 years, and I have done hosting and moderating in that time.
Hi everyone, I'm Amelia Herbst. I am also Wandering Shrink pretty much everywhere on the internet. I am the community manager for Geeks Like Us, so I work very closely with Ryan and Emory. Outside of all of this fun stuff, I'm actually a pre-doctoral intern at the University of Washington in Tacoma.
I'm Matt Donahue. I'm the co-founder of But Why the Geek Community, and I run all of our, our Discord community, and we're kind of like a media outlet / community. We used to do streaming, but not so much anymore. But I'm just here to talk about basically how we do. I can't even. I'm doubling my words right now.
No, that's fair. This is late, and you're doing a great job.
Yeah. But as far as experience, I don't have quite the nearly the experience of Twitch modding as everybody on this panel. We did that for a little while, but I just basically handle all of our community between managing all of our writers and then obviously Discord and social media presence of what we do as our outlet.
I am Songs of Healing. I am a Twitch streamer and I'm on Twitter, but mostly I am a Twitch moderator for the Twitch channel Extra Credits. Yes, the YouTube channel as well. We work with that a lot. I've been streaming for a year-ish on and off, and I've been modding for EC for about 2 years now. Outside of all of that, I'm a board-certified music therapist.
Awesome. And I am Dr. Emory Daniel, also known as Fusro Doc on Twitter. I am an assistant professor at Appalachian State University in the mountains of North Carolina. I am also the marketing director for Geeks Like Us, and I stream once a week, but I also do mods for 2 nights a week. So quite the busy schedule on that. So I want to go ahead and get started with some of the areas within Twitch modding, community management, and so forth. And I could think of no better anecdote to start this off with than one of the recent trailers that got taken down was Gamer Girl. I don't know if y'all saw that as it was coming out of this young woman streamer randomly reaching out to somebody and said, "Hey, be my mod." And I could not help but just laugh profusely at it, because I was like, mods in so many ways are some of our most trusted allies, right?
Yeah.
And I wanted to get into like a little bit of that, like our trusted allies, our closest confidants. To start off with, and this can just be for anybody, what are some qualities that you look for when you're moderating? Because I want to look at this from the perspective of, what if I'm just starting and I want to have mods in my stream, which you probably should.
I'll start. Especially when you're starting, an easy thing that people generally do, an easy way to go about it, is they tend to just give it a mod sword to the person that's kind of just in their chat the most, especially if you have like a handful, and they're really like talkative. They'll talk you through things. They'll comment. They'll welcome people into the chat. And just from there, because they're kind of like your person that you're talking to. If you just have 1 or 2 people, those are kind of the first people that you are like, want to be a mod? And they're like, yeah, I'm all about it. What I've seen, though, is as if you grow as a streamer and you have suddenly 20, 30, 50, 100 people over the years, some of the early mods that you've had might not actually end up working out because they're just maybe don't have the traits for it, which are traits that I look for are if somebody's in the Twitch chat and they're not a mod and they're exhibiting behaviors of a mod, they're friendly, they're welcoming, they're issuing commands, they'll help you, let you know that your mic is muted. They're answering questions, they're being super positive, thanking people for their subs and donations, but they're not being overbearingly policing other people. They're just being friendly and excited to be there. That's the type of person that I generally will reach out to and be like, are you interested? I have a whole application if you are. So yeah, those are just kind of the traits that I look for.
I think that's a good way to recommend it. I've known a lot of people to do that as well. I think for us, we had our GLU community already. So we had some people who we really trusted already, had met a lot of conventions, and we were very, very fortunate to hop straight into, hey, I really trust this person and I can see this person being a mod for a long time. I know Amelia was certainly one of those before she was our community manager. But I think some traits that we look for is, one, reliability is massive. The fact that they will be there, they're timely. For me, I know one that I very much appreciate is just that go-gettingness, sort of the idea of like, not just going to sit and sort of occasionally click allow, but and our mods are very good at this, but it's like engage with the community, be good about doing the commands to prompt stuff in a timely way. You know, this is, and we'll probably get into it. I know for us, because we are, our company was created by psychologists, and the community we have raised is very much based around the well-being of geeks and us promoting and improving the community well-being of geeks. We do tend to attract people who do have mental health issues or who are looking for that. So we have a lot of people with Asperger's and anxiety and depression who do pop in. They come to our panels. And so we know that for us, the mods have to be pretty competent at dealing with, and this has happened, dealing with people who maybe have some, you know, for lack of a better word, suicidality during stream. Like, oh, I'm so glad you guys are on. I just, you know, I feel like this is all I live for. Or like things like that, and that they know how to appropriately address it and resources to appropriately allocate. So for us, you know, I think originally I thought it was unique because we're psychologists, but then as I watched more and more, I'm like, no, that's not that unique. It happens even everywhere, I guess.
And as of right now, the majority of our mods are clinicians. I can only think of one that isn't, but she does actually have past mental health experience. That's not necessarily something that GLU looks for in our mods, but I think it has benefited us a lot for some of the same points that Ryan has brought up.
Songs?
I know for me, it's kind of, you know, touching a lot on what they've already said. When I first started streaming, I actually had friends kind of outside of the internet sphere already that I was kind of like, hey, if you're going to be able to like come in, please do so. And like, can I mod you to be able to, you know, have that, like, we already had that kind of level of trust, even outside of like just the name on the screen that like comes into chat sometimes. And then actually in terms of extra credits, Will really lucked out with me because we've been best friends for 11 years.
Wow.
So when he asked me to mod for him, it was kind of like, yeah, sure, duh. But you know, there's 4 of us that are like regularly active for mods on the team. And I'm, you know, the token clinician one. So anytime stuff like that does come up, you know, there's definitely a kind of sense of like, hey, can you handle that one, please? And you know, like, I've gotten into more whisper conversations or Discord conversations than I could possibly count. But you know, it's nice that I can be there for that resource, but it's definitely a reality, especially, you know, for streamers that not everyone really has and is able to kind of tap into.
Yeah, I guess also to kind of piggyback on that, I think all the mods that I've ever worked with or selected have been like people from outside of our community. I mean, that kind of brought in like friends beforehand. I kind of picked people that I knew that I personally could trust more than anything than selecting random people. We've had a lot of fun over the years finding, as we, people who start off with very engagement and then just kind of tail off. So reliability is a big one, and then also just like engagement of just like constantly like pushing forward of everything. We don't really have any clinical people on our staff, obviously. We have dealt with some of those issues, but we're working on getting a little better. But we do have resource charts for everybody and just kind of like files like, hey, if this happened, just say this and just kind of do what you need to do. We deal. I mean, obviously our community is very diverse, and we have a large set of like my two staff members, co-founder basically is a brown woman and a black woman, and then obviously we have quite a bit of POCs within our community. So like obviously telling our mods like you can expect a lot of different types of stuff and just kind of be aware of what's happening, and then just we kind of have like we don't really play around a lot, so we just kind of get rid of if we need to a lot quicker than we probably should have. But just very interesting what we see.
I think, and I think something now that I think about it as this discussion goes, I think something that's been hard for us at times is, again, we want to be particularly inclusive to people with mental health issues, including something like, say, Asperger's, where you don't know how to set your own boundaries and you say things that are inappropriate with no malintention, but that will be offensive to the rest of the community. And I think something we've run into is this balance of, we're not going to have this sort of a cancel culture in here where if you say anything wrong, you're out, because it could be because you didn't know any better, but also knowing all right, so how do we give like second chances, for a lack of a better word? And then two, it's like, if we do give a second chance, how do we appropriately set a boundary and sort of like monitor that? And as we've gotten bigger, I think that's gotten more difficult because it's had to happen with more people, and it's harder to like monitor or track. I don't know if that's something that you guys have run into at all.
I know we've run into that quite a bit, especially with, between either boundaries or just people like pushing the edge of what we can do, and then how far will they go? And then kind of like I said, we don't want to just cancel everybody immediately, like you said, but also just, it's been a hard balance of trying to figure out, because I think in the beginning we definitely got kind of walked on per se, until we kind of figure out like, no, we got to set some boundaries and lines here.
Right. Because some people are trolls, but some people just don't know, like truly don't know what they're doing.
That was a very consistent point of one of the findings of our research that we were doing, especially when we were talking to people that did a lot of moderating, was this whole idea of, when trolls come in, we can hit the ban hammer, no problem, for the most part. What's infinitely more complicated is when there is, again, mental health concerns that are much more complicated to address. I think one of the things that I want to ask everybody here to kind of go along with that is, how important are rules to set up your stream to make that understood before that even becomes an issue?
Oh, incredibly important. Like, this is like the first thing you should be thinking of is both as a broadcaster, thinking of what makes you comfortable, what makes you uncomfortable. And then as a moderator, when you are onboarded as a mod, actually having the conversation with the broadcaster or a lead mod saying, what are things I need to be looking out for? What are just like hard no's? Like, I've moderated for, female streamers who are okay with somebody coming in and calling them sweetheart. Hi honey, hi sweetie, hi sweetheart. And then other female streamers that are like, ban them. Like, no, like I hate that. Like my name, and so it's like, okay, like I didn't know. There's some streamers out there that don't want you using other people's emotes, and that's a hard ban. And it's like, again, like, so it's like having that at least listed. Like, they'll have it listed. There's several places you can list it. You can list it on your Discord if you have one. You can list it in the stream chat as a command. You can have it in the actual chat in the bar, and then in your information. And so the onus is kind of on the viewer to check that before they kind of, get into it. Everyone should kind of get in the habit of seeing, like, kind of looking through and being like, okay, like, if it's just like basic stuff, like, don't be a dick, which a lot of people have. It's like,
that's
all right, that's a little bit more flexible.
My rule.
There's some people, though, that have a very long list because they've been in it for a while, and these rules are there for a reason, because some happen that they feel the need to do that.
Absolutely.
So
that was for sure our start, by the way, Blue, was like, don't be a dick, right? It was,
Yep.
and then it was like, wow, we really need to specify.
We need to be a little more specific.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and I want to pass it to Amelia after this because Amelia, because high five to your left, Amelia.
To my left.
Camera left or
Right?
Bam.
What is she
Bam,
doing?
okay.
You know, I want to, because Amelia really took it on to set mod rules and create our mod channel in Discord so that we could kind of, as things arose, be like, oh yeah, we have to add this new thing. But to give you a perspective from psychology, whether it be marital therapy or a behavior management plan or a contract between a teen and his parents or whatever, anything that involves any form of reciprocity or communication, the first session is intake to figure out what's going on. And then the second session is rules for communication. Like that's it. That's the way it goes. Because if you don't have those, everything else is going to fall apart. I mean, you have to have that. So it's ironic that we didn't think about that when we started. We're like, don't be a dick. And they're like, oh, wow. That was not nearly enough. Amelia, do you want to speak more to that?
Yeah, I mean, I think to start out, Clinical Role, which is the longest running stream on GLU, had a very good, it was Dungeons and Dragons. It's like a bunch of also clinicians and people interested in mental health would come in and just hang out. So it was very chill. And then they added Thuppence, which both Emory and Ryan were on. And then at that point, things started to like bump up for us. And then the more streams that we got, the more people that got introduced. And of course, with new people, with new interests, we are seeing a lot larger of a neurodiverse population. So to have those very strict boundaries in place started becoming necessary for us. I think for our roles in particular, we do allow some flexibility just because we do have members of our community that are neurodiverse and they have been with us for a while, and having to like re-implement these boundaries, new boundaries for them. It took a little bit to finally sink in before they were like, okay, this is something I can't say now, or, oh, maybe I shouldn't say that to other people in chat.
Right.
So it helps us as much as it helps them, because they're now not worried about getting timed out. They're now not worried about getting banned, because we're saying, hey friend, this used to be okay in the past, it's not okay now. And that helps them reframe how they can interact in chat and with other chatters. And then we're more excited to see them, and they're more excited to show up because they want to be like welcomed and loved, you know, just like we all do. So, you know, rules just ended up becoming something that worked out better for us.
Having that structure is important. Like that can ease a lot of anxiety coming into a new space and not wanting to offend, wanting to make friends. How do I communicate? And then just being like, don't talk about this stuff, don't get into this, and then here's like totally go nuts with this, and then it's like, okay, like I know what to expect now. So yeah.
This is something that I really love kind of like pondering on, especially because kind of the over-encompassing rule that we have for extra credits is keeping good faith. And, you know, sometimes it takes some explaining as to what that is. We're just like, all right, well, you know, don't assume the worst in the person that you're talking to, and things like that. However, Wednesday evenings, we actually run a politics stream. And it's fascinating and full of incredible discussions when they all keep in good faith. And you can always tell when someone comes in that's new, that maybe will start just kind of throwing things here and there, because the community won't even engage anymore. They'll just be like, all right, well, you're not talking in good faith, so I'm not going to talk to you. And it's almost like it helps the mods do our job, because we don't have to say, please ignore the person that's not technically breaking rules, but it's kind of like the community, like once you have your rule set and how the community is expected to engage, then they don't tend to entertain anything outside of that, because they want to keep it as much as you want to as a mod.
Good point.
I think the most interesting thing, because we're talking about people coming into chats and modding and everything else, and at least for us, it's obviously a little different, but like we had rules for, you know, people coming into our, you know, when we did stream and then when we have our Discord. But what we didn't realize is we actually had to make a code of conduct for actually our writers, because obviously we do a website and we do, you know, writing, but actually having to set a code of conduct just for the people that we're actually onboarding to come write for us. And so we actually, when we, you know, have something like, hey, I want to be a writer, fill out the application, we actually send like not only just your, you know, your basic information and guides, we actually send an entire code of conduct of like what to do.
Sure.
And that was something we did not think we were going to end up having to do, for sure.
And that makes me think about the idea about like individual streamers versus organization. Is there a difference, or is there additional things we need to consider if you're joining, saying I'm going to be an individual streamer versus I'm joining an organization to stream? You know, what are the factors that need to be thought about in that capacity?
So I do want to speak on this from organization point, because we ran into this issue maybe just last month where we had somebody that was kind of at the top of our organization who apparently made a lot of people within our organization very uncomfortable, a lot of issues. We ended up letting them go, but like we did not know to the extent. So it's basically everybody thought, since that person was at the top, that, you know, they were immune and everything. So one of the things we've been working on is trying to have like a system in place now to like have people, you know, like writers or, you know, general community members actually be able to filter, you know, kind of go through a process and send us stuff that kind of keeps, as we call it, our staff or something at the higher up in check and whatnot else, because we knew we had issues from the top level. What we didn't realize is how many people this person actually affected, you know, in the lower levels. And so it was very disheartening to find out. And we were like, what? And they all just said, like, we just didn't know. And we just didn't want to tell anybody. We just thought, oh, y'all were all friends and everything. And we were like, well, no, if something's bad, you have to let us know. So that's something we've been trying to work from an organizational level.
Yeah, from a
Blue,
personal...
do you want to say something?
Oh, yeah.
Nope.
Sorry, what?
Oh,
Blue, go
I
ahead.
thought Blue was talking, but then I couldn't hear her on my end at
Oh,
least.
can you hear me now?
Yes.
I was going to say, from a personal, going off of what Matt said, I'm an admin and pretty much the lead mod for one of the partner streamers, Descartes Games. Brian and Amelia Descartes, they were in the game Detroit Become Human, and they have a really, really large community. And I'm the creator of their Discord that has almost 10,000 members. They have 400 and some odd thousand people, followers. And so sometimes I do get this, like, I have probably 35 mods on Discord and Twitch combined that I help manage, that I'm like their go-to person. And I make it very clear to them, like, if you ever have a problem with me, here is an email that goes directly to the broadcaster, goes directly to Brian and Amelia, and you tell them, like, if I said something or if I did something, like, I just don't want people to feel like, well, I can't, she said something that made me uncomfortable, but I feel like no one's gonna take it seriously. And so that level of transparency and being like, holding people accountable, I feel is really important.
Yeah, there's something to that. I mean, I think it really does kind of start at the top sometimes. Like, I know when we reached out and made our round table, there were some people where, I mean, not that people had problems with me, but I think they were hesitant to like dissent from my opinion, right?
Right. We have fun.
Right. But I think it's, instead of saying, well, the assumption should be they'll be fine with it, I think it really is for the top, like you did, Blue, like from the top, to be like, look, it's fine. Like you're fine. And here's a person that you can go to chat, so that there is that sort of that culture of, I can express my thoughts and feelings without, concerns of repercussion. I will say, and I wonder, either Songs or Blue, if you can speak more to the personal aspect, because we've only ever done it under a business, right? And not only that, we've done it under a business where each of us have our own businesses outside of it. When I'm streaming, and when, really Amelia soon is going to be streaming, and, Megan's streaming, we are also representing our PLLCs, right? And it's hard to separate those two. So we keep that very much in mind. So we operate that way. I actually, now that I think about it, I don't know the differences when you're just one person. Do you see differences that are notable?
Songs, do you want to go?
No, you can for this one.
Okay. I mean, I guess when I think of like a single broadcaster just trying to grind through Twitch and make partner and go, affiliate the partner versus an organization, I think it's just resources. You might not have a lot of money as an upstart, When I started, I didn't even have a camera. I just streamed off my PlayStation 4, and then slowly, as I gained subscribers over the course of 2 years, I could get like a nice webcam, I could get a nice microphone, I could get a stream deck, and just slowly upgrade. Whereas I feel, again, I'm not an organization, but you might have more people that are willing to invest, or just more resources from that regard. But also, just I think from a liability standpoint, like if you're just a single person, you're not a business, like, unless you're like top streamer, that's has like 10,000 subs. You're just you. And then if something happens, if you just cancel culture, you know, you say something and you're just done, you just, which has happened, versus like an organization, they go, oh, let's just get rid of that guy, but we're going to still keep going. You know, we're just going to bring on a new guy or a new gal. And so, yeah, those are like the two big ones I can think of off the top of my head that I can see being differences.
Yeah, that makes sense. And also, like, because it is purely on you, like, there's also just the fact of when you aren't on, there's nothing happening. Right? Like, if you're in an organization or even any sort of like cooperative, right? Like, you can kind of be like, hey, like, I can't really do anything tonight. Can you like just pick it up, you know? But like, if it's just you, it's just you. There's like, that's it. Either you're on or you're not.
Even again, like, if you're just like, you get like 20 to 30 viewers a stream, and you're, you know, I'm a Twitch partner, but I get like 30 to 50, you know, on average. And just, you have to, you're it. Like, you have to do your own graphics, you have to do your own YouTube editing, you have to do your own promotion. Hopefully you can grab some mods and viewers that are like your champions, and they'll promote you, and they'll make cool compilations of you and stuff. But yeah, I would.
But you don't have to beg to clip you.
I know. You ever
Please clip me.
Chat? That means clip it. I need this.
Which Wandering is Master Clipper. I'm going to tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Master Clipper.
She's very good.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I'm awful at it, by the way. So one thing, I always try to see if I can look at some of the more challenging things within moderating in general. I think one of the biggest ones is investment, whether it be social investment, whether it be financial investment, and this idea of, and Matt, you kind of spoke to it in terms of hierarchy, but I also kind of want to look at it into, I'm subscribed, I'm a member of your Patreon. How dare you would potentially ban me or kick me out for whatever reason? How do you handle like something like that as a mod for new streamers that feel like they want to make sure they connect with their community, but this could be a problem? I
personally hold subscribers to the exact same standard as a non-subscriber. Basically, from the get-go, I let them know that this is not like a pay-to-win. This is not, you can't. I have straight up banned one person who is a very big subscriber and donator, like hundreds of dollars over the course of several months, but they just would not listen. Please don't spoil this. I haven't played this game. Kept spoiling, and I'm like, I gotta ban you, man. Like, I don't, like, you know. So it's a matter of like, you can't pay enough money to me to, you know, that I'm gonna not look at how you're making me feel uncomfortable or making my broadcaster feel uncomfortable. So we make that very clear, like in the rules on Discord and on Twitch, like being a subscriber does not make you immune to these rules. And I have just timed out people. You might gift sub 50 gift subs, and then 10 minutes later you're timed out because you did something, you know, you knew better, and you did it anyway, and it's not a pass. And so it is tricky because but that's sort of the cost of keeping a healthy, like literally a cost at times of keeping a healthy community. To me, it's not worth it to have somebody who makes me uncomfortable and anxious if they're just giving me $20 or $5 here or there. It's like, I do not need that, and my broadcaster does not need that. So that's like, there's really no, hopefully like it's 99% of the time your biggest supporters are your biggest champions, and they get it. But you are going to get that one person who just keeps kind of, you know, overreaching,
pushing
like
it,
that.
pushing
it.
No,
I think that comes right back to the rules of just like, if your rules are set in stone, then you can always just be like, hey, sub or not, like you especially, and sometimes especially when they're a sub.
It's almost
like,
you
know, when they've been there,
like
when they've been there for, you know, longer than like the average person maybe that's just coming in as like a first timer that doesn't know. When you have like, you know, year-long subs that like spoil like a thing that's around the corner, it's like, why? You knew that, and then, you know, they get timed out, and like usually they'll take it in stride. But you know, there's definitely like a line of just kind of like, okay, well, you know better. And I can definitely see like where someone might think, you know, I have deposited money into your account. I am entitled to be able to, you know, that doesn't fly if you already have your rule set again, you know, like, no, you're just the same as the guy that just came in 5 minutes ago. Like, bye. Don't say things that you were told not to say.
No, I think that's really smart. I think the general theme is do not have any sort of tier subscription that offers, you get a lot of chances. Like that's not You know, and I obviously, a lot of our framework, because we have a lot of professors and doctors and physicians and so on, is, you know, in psychology or in private practice, there's something called discrepancy of payment. If you are seeing somebody for $40 because they can't afford it, and then you're charging someone else and they were like, well, I'll pay you more. If you provide them with a different type of service, that's illegal. You can't do that. And of course you shouldn't, right? It shouldn't be the case that you could provide additional service because they can pay more when they're signing the same contract. So it's, yeah, I think with subscription, again, a lot of parts about mods and as streamers is learning how to set boundaries. And like Songs reiterated a moment ago, I mean, it's about having that contract, and your rules is the contract. And if they're clicking that button that says got it, that might as well be, you know, Ariel signing the signature for her voice. If I can make a Little Mermaid thing, it's binding.
It's a legally binding document.
Right, you're mine now.
The big thing is not to feel guilty about it. I mean,
Yeah.
they're subbing, they're supporting you on Patreon, not because, or they shouldn't be doing it because they want your individual attention, because they want to be able to manipulate what's going on for their own gain. If they're subbing to you, if they're giving money to Patreon, it's because they believe in you, they want to support you, they want to support the work that you're doing, they enjoy the work that you're doing. So by supporting you there, that's what that money does. I had a very, very dear friend of mine ended up having somebody blocked in chat because he kept getting harassed. And then this individual proceeded to start sending him money through a different donation bot to get the vile things he was saying read as a caption. And he had to go into the IP address, but you know, the only thing he can do, like his mods can't do that. He had to do that. He had to halt an entire stream. I think there's like 600 people on at that time watching him just to put it in to block this guy from sending him. And it wasn't a small amount of money either, like sending him like 20-30 bucks to say, will you listen to me now? And like, that's harassment. Like, it doesn't matter if he's giving you money, like that's not okay, you know? So don't feel guilty that somebody that's paying you to watch something that you're already giving them and just asking for some help so you can do it more for more people.
You shouldn't feel guilty cutting people out that make you feel that uncomfortable after you've given them chances. And you know that they know better, and they just push this boundary, and you're just like, I mean, I have whispered people, like as a mod, I have, if there's like a subscriber that we see is just not acting right, and we'll be in the mod room on Discord, and we'll be like, we're gonna whisper him, like as a final knock it off, because they're just not getting it when we're adding them in the chat. And so we'll whisper them, and they'll be like, oh, okay, sorry. A couple streams later they'll do it, and you're just like, really, you have no excuses. Like, we let you know. So yeah.
I guess the only thing I could probably add is when it comes to like the balance of just like, because a lot of our stuff has come just more in disagreements of like just talking. And so like, you know, somebody says something either bad, but more of just if the money is one of the first things that comes up to them, then probably they're using that more against you than in kind of in bad faith than they are of just somebody you just got into disagreement with. At least that's how we look at it.
Sure. Yeah, and I think there's something to be said. I mean, we talk about this binding contract. We talk about, I always find it interesting in terms of the real time of stream related. And but I'm also curious about like when it goes into transmedia of different outlets, when this progresses past a stream. And Matt, maybe you could be really good for this, because I mean, y'all have a very lively Discord. I'm on it. And, you know, it's the kind of thing where, you know, some of this isn't in real time, but it's on your, you know, this is a person on your Instagram now. This is a person on your Twitter. This is a person on your Discord. How do we as mods, or how do we as a community be able to work through something like that to where it's gone beyond Twitch in that capacity?
Anybody want to go first for me before I go? I guess everybody look at me. I know for us, we definitely, when we deal with people that goes beyond, especially into the Twitter realm, because we are very active, especially all of our writers and a lot of people on Twitter. We do kind of give everybody at least some, especially at least from an organizational standpoint, like some guidelines of, you know, we're not going to, you know, monitor what you know, like say you can't say this, you cannot do anything, but, you know, we're kind of aware of everything. I know, as I said, as being probably a kind of majority POC community, we take a lot of attacks on social media. For the most part, we don't really we try to stay out of fights because it is welcome bad on PR. But at the end of the day, we tell them you're allowed to hit back per se. Just make sure it counts. And so like we've had to. I mean, we had earlier in this year, we had an entire another organization came after us, including the EIC of our site, my wife, and basically said our entire site just reverse racism. And we're just a bunch of racists and stuff, like all online, and start spreading all this stuff. And so like we're just sitting there all throughout Twitter and just yelling, you know, you guys just hate white people and all this weird stuff. And we're like, okay. And so it turned into like, you know what? If you all would like to say something, go for it. Obviously be aware of what you're going to say, and people will see this, but at the end of the day, of like, you kind of need to kind of protect your boundaries. You also need to kind of protect yourself. Try not to be the attacker, but be you know, but try to defend yourself, at least is how we work with, because we've run into a lot of situations of just people seem to find us and have a lot of issues with what we do for various reasons.
That's a good point. We kind of have a rule that, at least for mods, there's a big difference between being right versus being effective. And there are a lot of times where you have every right to be righteously indignated or offended or react, but our job is not to react. Our job is to stop, think, and respond. And that can be really hard to do sometimes. And I think we have a round table of about 9 people that all help each other do that appropriately. And we've had times where things have been said where we're like, someone kind of panics a little bit, understandably, because something is said that offends some of our community. And we obviously don't want anyone offended. At the same time, we do want there to be discourse. We're not just trying to have a pot where there's one opinion shared among everyone. Disagreement is not automatically disrespect. But honestly, you know, our community is super respectful. So we've had some comments, largely from some, to be fair, from some folks who have been pretty transparent about having Asperger's or some form of autism, that struggle with it, and said things that were really offensive, but not like hate speech or something like that. That obviously is not allowed. And our community handles it super well so far. So I feel like as it gets bigger, that's going to probably be more and more of an issue. But again, I think the big thing for us is how can we be effective at, sort of creating a community based around our principles that does include disagreement.
Yeah,
and
I know
think,
go ahead, sorry.
And I think for us, we're lucky enough to have the roundtable, which is a few of us. Yeah. Getting back to part of Emory's question about having the multiple platforms. So we're all on the Discord, so we're all able to see that. I'm running Instagram. There's a few of us that have Twitter. So if anything happens on one platform, and if we're starting to see it on others, we're all able to have that conversation and talk as a group and go, okay, what do we do? And then it trickles down to me, who talks to the mods and goes, all right, if this is what's being said on Twitch, like this is how we've decided to handle it. But honestly, our community, we're very lucky, does a very good job, even if it's on Twitter, if it's on Discord, just saying, hey man, how did you think about it from this point of view? Right. And then having that person go like, oh, I didn't. And then try to fix it, or even just try to have a good conversation about it. Doesn't happen all the time, but it actually happens more often than not with us.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, I was just going to add to basically, having a round table is good. Obviously informing everybody about just kind of having a game plan per se. And I think, like you said, the offhand comments is probably a lot of things that we deal with, of telling people to let it go. We get a lot of offhand racist comments a lot and everything else. So trying to tell people, because I know when we first started, people used to fly out of the gates, and just trying to get people to relax and just let it go. But obviously at a certain point, we've learned, whether for right or wrong, just, sometimes you got to boot people back, and then they just leave you alone.
Yeah.
This is kind of interesting hearing it from your guys' perspective as an organization, because this is a little different than how I operate as a broadcaster and as a moderator for another singular entity of a broadcaster. One of the things I tell, again, we have Discord and Twitch mods, I tell them point blank, you are only a moderator on Twitch and or Discord. You are not a moderator of Twitter. You are not a moderator of the Instagram. You do not, need to. If you see something going down, I'm not telling you what to not post or post on your own personal social pages, but I can strongly discourage you from getting into it, because you are known. Like people take pride in being a moderator. They'll put it in their Twitter bio, like I am a Twitch mod 4, I am a Discord mod 4. So it's like if people go to your page, they're going to see that you're representing them in some capacity. So I really just tell them like and plus our people, they're regular people. They're not clinicians, they're not trained therapists, they're not de-escalators, they're just there to have fun a couple hours a week to help us mod when we're active on the stream and as Discord as they're able to hop on and help out. So I don't want to put that on them to just be scouring through the hashtag and finding conflict. At most, I'll tell them, if you see something going down on Twitter or Instagram, most usually Twitter, and you see like the users, the people doing it, and you know that they're in our Discord or they're in our Twitch chat, like let's let us know, like just so we know if we can see if that bleeds in. And I also just personally, again, as like an admin, I will get DMs from people saying so-and-so was mean to me on Instagram. And I'm like, I'd block them? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like I don't, like, I'm not a mod on Instagram for you. Like, I'm really sorry to hear that. I'll keep a lookout on the Discord and on Twitch. If they do something, like, I'll let them know. But, like, that sounds like it sounds like interpersonal, and I'm not going to get into it. So you need to kind of, you're in charge of your own online space. So block them, report them, whatever they're doing. And I'll keep a lookout, but that's about as much as I can really do. So it's just, it's interesting that you guys have this whole other kind of world where it's just all encompassing of social media, and you guys all kind of have to tackle it. Whereas in my experience, it's not like that.
Not as much.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. Sorry, Matt, go ahead.
I was gonna say, obviously we don't tell people to go out, and obviously it's more of like individual agreements, or like, you don't like somebody, that's your own issue. Our issue, when at least if it involves us, when it directly involves our organization, or directly mainly our writers within our organization, of people who are part there, like community members, or even a writer having a dispute, you're on your own, you're your own individual person, as we tell them. But obviously when it comes directly at us is when it happens.
Right.
I do want to shift gears a little bit, because there are some things that, aren't necessarily having to do with harassment or anything, but just being overwhelmed. And Blue, I know you and I have spoke to this at one point. I'm always interested in raids when it comes to modding. And you and I, now granted, you gave me anxiety when you said, what if a raid comes in and there's 500 people coming into your chat? I'm like, what?
Well, I got a better one. I have an update. We had a raid of 70,000 people.
What?
It was Rubius, who's the third biggest YouTuber in the world, at #1 in Spain, and he raided my broadcasters, and we knew it was coming because people were coming into the chat going, "Get ready, get ready, get ready," and Rubius, and I was like,
that point.
"Oh my god!" And so, one of the things I think, Emory, that I spoke to you about is that we have protocols in place. It's like, what do we do if we get not just like friendly? That was a friendly raid. That was 70,000 people. It's easy enough. You do slow mode. You do you do what you got. Follower only 10 minutes. Make it cool down. But yeah, what do you do when you get those raids that aren't so great? Or what do you do when you get just bots? And so we have protocols in place of, like, we go emote only, we go follower 1 week, and we start going through and banning them, and letting our broadcaster know, like, we're on top of it. Don't worry. You don't even have to address it if you don't want to, because some people thrive on the attention of it. Like, oh, look, he's all thrown off now. Isn't that funny? Like, that's what trolls like to do. If you just like, oh, we're going to go to break now, bye, we'll be back in 5 minutes, and then they take a break, and then mods clean it up, and then they come back and act like nothing happened. So, for the most part in my community, in our community, raids have been a blast. Like 99% of the time, it's all in good faith. It's all just people coming in hyped. Like, again, they were in a game, Detroit Become Human. We get people that raid us that have just played the game, and it's like, hey, Connor, and he's like, my name's Brian, but yes, I played Connor.
Thank you.
But, you just roll with it. And so, in my experience, it's normally almost always just a good time. So, again, it's just setting that expectations for the mod team of don't panic. You're fine. Like, we're just going to tackle it. We'll make it as slow. And there's sometimes you just got to let it happen. It'll simmer down. People are just hyped. Nothing wrong with a little bit of hype. Like, that's my opinion.
I appreciate that as a coming from a partner. I think on our standpoint, we've been growing. I mean, fast and growing. We've only really been making Twitch our primary platform in the last 8 or 9 months. But yeah, I think we're around like 650-ish. And, most of our streams tend to be between 10 and 70. And the 70 is special occasions where we do kind of a big thing that we market out pretty well, right? And we have a lot of wonderful support in our community from bigger folk. But I think Stevens lately with his Lord du Jour tends to max around 23, 24. And the people we have are really awesome. We've formed really good relationships with them. We love to talk to them. The thing we've run into, to be honest, is when we started off, we'd usually have like 10 people in there and we could talk with them and it was manageable and we could play a game and we could catch most of the comments and people felt included and they felt like we were listening. And even if we got distracted, there wouldn't be a lot of overlap top and we get to them. As we got more and more people, it became more and more difficult because we'd miss comments. People who got used to having every comment of theirs responded to, which is ideally our goal, right? We're like, they're not listening to me anymore. And then when raids come, that has been the main thing is our expectations. We have this smaller community where we're very, very interactive. And then when a raid comes, which has ranged in our experience between 6 and 200, 200 again for more of the special events we do. I know my main concern is, but like our like 17 crew, right, that has been with us so long that we want to, it's like, where are their comments, right? So like where, but then you're playing a game at the same time. And I think we've had a few times where we've had some people who have been very, very, very active community members who felt really let down and really excluded. And it killed us to hear that. We're like, oh God, really? Like, oh man. And that was on us. We're sort of new to it and we're like, didn't know how to do the balance. And a lot of times we feel like we're just like tripping to the finish line, a lot of times like, like trying to just finish. But a big thing has been that Amelia has really forefronted to is when that happens, the moderators really kick in and they can really focus on that existing community to make sure that they're kind of still heard and their expectations aren't violated, while at the same time switching to a new type of interaction of, look, we got 200 people for a little bit. Let's just hit it.
We set the expectation with our chat of new friends. This is potential new friends.
Right. Yeah.
That 17 could now be 20 if you get 3 solid people that are like, so yeah, we just, that's sort of our expectation with our community. It's not like, oh, okay, now we're drowned out, I'm gonna go over here now because they're not gonna listen to me. It's, look at this hype, like new people learning about my streamer, learning about this organization. This is awesome. That's sort of the narrative that has been created in our community. So yeah.
And something that seems like a mod could do as well. Yeah. To really create
That's what Aaron and Spooky, Aaron/Spooky Elor. That's her and I think were 2 of the first moderators for Geeks Like Us.
You were the first moderator.
We were the first moderators. We got this. We got the green sword together. That's how her and I became best friends. But her and I do a really good job of balancing that. So just like Ryan said, when we would get a raid and multiple people come in, her and I do this really good job of like clicking into gear and like just paying so much more attention and trying to like respond to everyone and pulling people back into conversation. And then if these guys happen to miss something, we're like, hey, so and so had a good question.
Oh,
right.
Hey. Y'all are really good at that.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I think it's really, really smart, Blue, to sort of set the precedent. And we to be honest, there's a lot of core Twitch things that we just dragged heels on because we didn't realize it was that important, including emotes. And so now something called the hype brain, which is a dopamine molecule, and it says hype. So now, but I really think it's really smart that you were like, look, when new people come in as a community, we're all hyped. This is all for us. Like, we're getting new people. We didn't do that. We probably should have. And it seems stupid as psychologists that some of us didn't think about it, aka me. But it's interesting because our community did it. Our community really does it. There's just such, and I want to say that's probably large in part Amelia. She's been super good on Discord and Twitch of like, welcome, welcome to the community. And I followed that lead. I see her and I'm like, oh, welcome to the community. and then I think it just happened that our community started to get really excited. Maybe 3 or 4 months ago, right? Where whenever someone new comes in, it's like, welcome to our our thing, and it was like, probably should have tried to do that. So I think that's really good advice, Blue.
Yeah. It's free. Take it.
free advice from Blue Almedica.
I mean, there's definitely an aspect of it that's like a learned behavior, right? Like not everyone expects that to happen or like knows for that to happen. Like we have one of our community members that is super avid. He's always around. He knows every single command for everything ever. And like he'll bring up commands sometimes where we have that. That's really oh, okay. And like I'm taking notes. But like, he'll just remember like, oh, that person wants to be welcomed in this way. Here's how we do it. I'm like, good on you, community member. Thanks for remembering. I will do it next time, I swear. But it's definitely something that like mods absolutely help to foster. Because especially as your community starts to grow, right? It can absolutely get harder to like read and play at the same time, and that's also a learned skill. Like don't underestimate that. That is a learned skill of like I can keep up with chat, keep on what's going on, make sure the stream is right. Like that is you are multitasking on a different level, and it's a learned skill. But especially when like a good question does come up, I'm not super talkative in streams when I'm modding, because when I do, Will kind of knows like, oh, that whatever she's saying matters right now. Like, let me actually read it instead of like thinking about other stuff. And I definitely use that, to my advantage. It was like, hey, I liked that question. That was a good question. Go answer that. And then, oh, okay, let me go scroll up. Oh, yeah, I did miss that question. I'm sorry. But, like that, the extra pair of eyes for the broadcaster, I think are so invaluable.
And this is the like the point in the panel where I just be like, hey, we have time for questions, like maybe 3 of them. But I do want to get a real quick send off for everybody. If everybody in here would just say where people could find you on the Twitters or on any social media. And also just a quick, what's something that you would suggest is your best practice for a strong community, and how can mods do that aside from, we mentioned setting rules? So if y'all could do that individually, I would appreciate that.
A best practice for a mod?
Mm-hmm.
I would say practice empathy, I think, and constantly remind yourself, because you can get burned out. And so constantly coming back and also knowing when to take steps to take care of your own self, and knowing when like, this is too much, I got to step back. But being empathetic and understanding another person's point of view, because like you said, you want to set the expectation. Everybody's here in good faith. Let's all work together. So that's sort of my one tip. But I'm Blue Owls Medic. You can find me here. BlueOwlsMedic.com also leads you to my website. You can learn more about me there. Yeah, that's me.
Cool.
Ryan?
Oh, sure. You're awesome. So there we go. Dr. R. Kelly is probably the best way. You can call me Ryan. You call me Dr. K. Whatever you want to call me. Dr. K. My kids call me that, but it sounds like I hustle ketamine. I don't like it's. Like, there's a little
That's
children.
oddly specific.
I know. It's like that Dr. K treatment. But you can also on our Geeks Like Us. So for Twitch, it's Geeks Like Us with 3s instead of E's and Geek. And we run a lot of good content that, again, passion to career, education specialists, professional artists, psychologists, communication people from the game development, and we do special panels. So please come by. I think the empathy thing is spot on. I would say the other thing is, if we're trying to be good people, then every action we have is mediated by values and principles. Everything should run through that filter. And if you're going to be running a channel, I strongly encourage you do the same. And so, having a very firm idea of what your values and principles as a channel are. Don't chase the viewers. I know it's exciting, but that's not what I would recommend. It's create an idea of the content you want, create quality content, try to provide an inclusive, inclusive content, and then act accordingly. So if you do that, you have passion. It actually means something to you. You actually have a genuine sense of purpose, and you're just going to be a better mod. And then I hope your values and principles are good. but usually hopefully it works out. Yeah.
Amelia?
All right. So once again, I'm Amelia. You can find me Wandering Shrink, like wandering through the woods, and Shrink, like, you know, the name we try not to call psychologists anymore. Wandering Shrink, pretty much anywhere on the internet. So piece of advice. One of the things that we don't think about is that when you get that green sword next to your name, or when you are identified as a mod in things like Discord or on other platforms, you aren't as big of a public figure as the person that you're representing, but you're still a public figure. And just because you're a public figure does not mean that you need to be accessible to everyone all the time. It's okay to defer to your streamer, to your broadcaster, to the person that runs your organization. It's okay to defer to other mods if you need to take a break.
That's really good advice.
That's it.
That's really good advice.
Matt?
And I'm Matt, and you can find me on the interwebs at datm18. And then obviously you can come check out our organization of But Why Though, the Geek Community at But Why Though PC on pretty much every platform, and butwhythoughpodcast.com, where we do all the nerd geeky things. I think right now everybody's just talking about anime and manga.
Nice.
Whatever they're doing right now.
Careful.
But no, I guess for my one advice for people, I guess looking outside of the empathy and everything else we kind of is keep learning and know your tools. I guess like knowing everything about like, you know, commands, Discord, you know, locking channels, just any type of role setting, any type of fancy thing that will help. I mean, one of the big things, especially with me growing when we started, was I was the only person kind of doing any of this, and so I learned how to automate pretty much everything. And so learning tools and seeing what can all help you. So obviously, you know, get more people to help, right? But if you can't, you know, just trying to know what can alleviate some of the hardship for you.
Nice.
And then songs.
I am on Twitter as just Songs Healing. There's no of. I don't want to talk about it. And on Twitch as Songs of Healing, and also moderating on Extra Credits. Yes, we have a Twitch channel as Songs of Healing. And the advice that I would give a mod is learn effective communication. If you are concerned about one of your community members, go talk to them. Go whisper them. Go find out what's going on before it becomes a thing with someone else. If you're worried about anything with your broadcaster, go talk to them. You know, point out things that you're noticing that they might not notice because they are already in a different world, in a different space. You're their second eyes. Do that for them. Learn to communicate effectively.
Awesome.
Yeah, totally.
And I am Fusrodoc, Fusrodoc on Twitter. I'm also part of the Geeks Like Us community, so you can find me there as well. But and to go along with that, songs, just kind of as a final note, because I think that's a really good point, especially from the organizational standpoint. It's okay to disagree. It's okay to have constructive feedback from each other, even if you feel like something has gone wrong. So when we've had disagreements, that's the kind of thing that I think builds communities really well. And you know, it's kind of the thesis antithesis kind of thing. And I think we've had not a substantial amount of it, but we've had it in GLU and we've handled it very well. And I think it's made us stronger for that. So I think that's extremely important. So, all right, that's all the time we have. Thank you all for joining us, and find us on the interwebs. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.